All right, we got the pre-roll is starting to go, folks.
We have a solution. The Whine No Whine Show, where you can be friended and offended all in the same hour, where we gather people from all different walks of life and perspectives, and we talk about everything that everyone has told you not to. Religion, politics, and everything under the sun. Nothing is off limits, and we do it all over a glass of wine. So grab a glass and join us as we save America, one civil conversation at a time.
www.nightstaffer.com. That's where you can find everything right now. I've just got approval for all the social platforms, so hopefully by next week that will be all released. That's where you can follow me on my journey. So, but to the topic, suicide.
The audio mic was muted for the first two folks.
Oh man. Okay.
Apologies,
All good.
scrambling, but just to reintroduce real quick who the first two guests were. Go ahead.
So as far as suicide, I don't think you're a coward. I don't think it's brave. I think it's definitely in between. It's something that we have to try to put ourselves in their shoes and the pain that they're going through. Sometimes being there for them might not be enough for them to get through it. So I feel like judging someone on that is really hard. Nonetheless, you know, it's their choice. Unfortunately, the pain of all the families and everyone who has to go through that and experience that, it's not a good feeling. Couldn't even imagine, but that's where I got to keep it at.
Oh, man. I'm Ian Quite. I'm a musician. I'm on Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, all those places. I personally feel that we shouldn't judge or criticize people that attempt or commit suicide, and we should do our best to help those that we know to be suicidal in their struggles.
All right, Billy, Mallory, we had a little technical issue there, so can y'all reintroduce yourselves
Absolutely.
one last time?
I'm Billy Muerto. You can find me at www.officergodmusic.bandcamp.com and also at magicalmailservices.com, which this lovely lady will talk about more. my personal opinion about the whether suicide is courageous or whether it's cowardly or not is based off of my own personal experiences. I am a radical self-determinist, and I believe that people have the right to choose, even if it's something that is painful or difficult for others. And as a survivor of suicide, I can say that I've seen that perspective, that it is cowardly and difficult, but that to me is more self-centered and personal. So the way that people take it, it's all up to them to deal with it afterwards, but it's the person's decision.
Definitely.
So I'm Magical Mel. You can find me at facebook.com/magicalmel. And again, www.magicalmelservices.com. And my personal opinion is that sometimes it can be honorable. Sometimes it can be just a moment where somebody's caught up in the moment and they just make a decision quick like that. So for me, I take it as a reverent position, but I do feel like it's up to the individual.
Very nice. All right, so if you're just now joining us, this is the Whine No Whine Show Artist Edition. Thank you guys for tuning in. These guys are amazing artists, and so for the topic today is suicide. Bravery, cowardice, something in between. Now, we're going to kick off this conversation. Man, where do you guys want to start? It's a lot to talk about, I know. A lot of different avenues. So, if there's a message you guys want to get out, how is this something that we can help people with, or do you think it's something that we just have to take with a grain of salt and, you know, try to help those closest to us and those around us as we go, or is there something we can do to, you know, beat it to the punch before it gets to that point for
I
somebody?
definitely think we could use a lot more awareness.
Mm.
And being there, really being there for someone and trying to find what's truly damaging them and that's what's hurting them.
Mm.
And it's really hard to get them to come out and actually speak to you how they feel, but you just gotta be genuine, you gotta be sensitive, and you gotta have the emotional intelligence to be able to empathetically be able to try to adapt with what they're feeling. You know, and you can't fully understand, but you could try. And I feel like just by giving that try, just by showing someone and telling someone that you love them, you care about them, that can just be the first start.
Definitely.
So
Personally, I do a little teaching. It's called Madams of Magic,
Mm.
and one of my people there, my icons, her name is Ida Craddock. She's from like the 1800s, or if not before. She committed suicide in prison by slitting her wrists or whatever, hanging herself, something. I can't quite remember right now.
She slashed her wrist and inhaled natural gas.
Thank you. So she had a judge that was following her around because she brought belly dancing to the United States at a time where everything was very repressed and things like that. And before he was able to judge her and sentence her, she took it upon herself to end her life. And I feel like those times when someone makes the decision that I'm not going to allow someone else to, you know, choose my destiny for me, I think that that can be a very powerful thing in itself.
I agree with you on that. As a survivor, my niece committed suicide in 2006 in October when she was 19 years old, and it was a very difficult thing for my family. We all saw it as you know, the natural response I think is to be angry, to be upset, to feel cheated, to feel like time that you could have spent didn't get spent. But it takes a lot to find it within yourself to see how it is that you can help other people afterwards. You know, how it is that you can take your experience and apply it, and also change your own self, you know, to understand how someone could get to that point. You know, and like Mel says, there are circumstances under which, like, it's, you know, it's a course that maybe might be valiant. You know, it might be the right thing to do. It might be a political statement. You know, like a monk setting himself on fire,
yeah.
or like we were talking earlier, Hunter S. Thompson decided when he was 70 years old that the world had gotten to a point where it wasn't acceptable anymore in his eyes, and he took a bullet, and that was what he wanted to do. So for me, it comes down to, you know, the circumstances have a lot to do with how you should take it, I suppose. But ultimately, like, the idea that we can intervene and change somebody beforehand, sometimes, like, it's not something that we should even evaluate afterwards, because it's like, that's beating yourself up, you know, like,
Yeah.
What could we have done? Well, nothing, it's done. This person made a decision, and it was their choice. And, you know, as a libertarian, I often say, I respect your right to make stupid decisions. You know, and I think that really is like the cornerstone of how to take it, not with stride, you know, but to be able to handle it.
Definitely. So maybe we could get more shows and more public awareness of this, and because like Nigel was saying, we gotta, you know, we can do our part to get it out there and take the initiative to, you know, maybe seek out those who really need a helping hand. I mean, a lot of us, all of us, all are musicians and artists, and I mean, at the end of the day, if we can change one person's life, save one life with our music or what we're trying to communicate to general public, and you know, I feel like that's a win all in itself, man. You know, just that one life makes it all worth it. What you thinking down there, Ian? I haven't heard from you.
This topic makes me think about compassion and loving kindness and just being a basic, decent human being to other people. And it's, I don't know, this is one of those subjects that,
I know.
you know, it needs to be talked about. It needs to be discussed. It shouldn't be scary to talk about this, but it is because you want to be respectful of people that you know personally that are struggling or have struggled, or your own personal struggles if you're not ready to quite open up about that. And then on the other hand, I think about access to mental health care, and you know, even though it's available, it's also really hard for people to get, you know, counselors and therapists and medication. And so I feel like we as a society are not actually doing enough. There's more to be done, and we can't shy away from it. But like we've touched on this before, just, you know, trying to reach out to people and forming connections socially and creating these bonds that strengthen us instead of dividing us will help a lot. There's a lot of pain that goes into making that choice, and if we can just, you know, hack at the roots of that pain, then maybe we can move forward and not have to talk about this, and we can talk about auto-tune. Something more fun.
That's the other topic.
Well, you know, the VA and the veterans and all of that that surrounds that, you know, PTSD and things that people don't quite understand right now. I think there can be a higher level of awareness that goes into the research about that. And I think, like, even with other topics, like, human connectivity is really going to be important. Like, so taking it into our own hands. If you feel something, if you feel passionate about this topic, then really put yourself out there and you find that way, because it's up to you to really put yourself out there and heal others.
I mean, for me, I always had my artistic outlets to express emotions or keep myself sane. You know, playing drums has gotten me to where I am today, but also made sure I kept moving forward and had a creative outlet for, you know, whatever we deal with in life. Because I mean, there's good times, there's bad times. There's something you mentioned that this, you know, could potentially make some people upset. So in regards of counseling and medication and that type of stuff, do you think we should be prescribing prescription drugs to, you know, try to aid this, or should we actually be trying to do something more creative and a way to channel that energy in just a different outlet?
I think those things, my opinion on this has evolved a lot in the last few years, and I have gone from the end of the spectrum that's like, you know, you don't need all this medication, you don't need all this counseling, you don't need all this therapy, to actually, those things help tremendously. And for the people that are interested in getting help through those means, we should protect those means, and we should make them more accessible to people that need them and that benefit from them. You know, and if people don't want to go that route, that's their, you know,
That's their choice.
prerogative. But I know from personal experience that it is helpful for some people, and some people are still with us to this day because of medication and counseling and therapy.
I like what you said there, because typically I have the stance that I'm opposed to the use of like sodium-based serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRI drugs, personally, from my own experience, because my niece who committed suicide actually was on Effexor at the time, which is a SSRI. And there was a whole process after her death where her father went through court and had the labeling changed on that particular drug to state that it could cause suicidal tendencies and thoughts past the age of 18. She was 19, so, up to 21 or 25 or something along that line. And that's a really very important thing to bring up because it's doctors, like primary care physicians, that are like giving like sample packets of these SSRIs and not giving like a lot of therapeutic advice or like giving any input on how to deal with your emotions and your sadness. They just say, here, take this pill, and you'll take the little one for a week, and then you'll take the big one, and if you ever have to stop taking it, take the little one again, because they want to get you off this stuff on a gradual dose, right? So you miss a dose, it causes you to have, you know, erratic behavior. You get into it, and from a person who took the exact same drug, I know from my own experience that it made me feel rather devoid, you know. So having some guidance on how to use these substances, you know, it gives a great case to the whole concept that there should be programs available. You know, whether you believe it should be a government proposed program or a private sector program, to me is neither here nor there. We need to have people that are versed in how to use these kinds of substances and how to deal with these emotions on like next level. Like, my wife and I like to think that we help people, but like I never give medical advice, of course, but like we help people in a spiritual sense, like to find their own guiding light, what works for them in our business, Magical Mail Services. Like that's one of the things that we do, you know, offer like guidance and help, but like give people the tools that they need rather than telling them specifically what to do, you know, and it's really the same approach, like having that there.
And that's kind of why I would go back to, like, I agree with both of what you guys are saying. I'm right in the middle of that. And I feel like real raw research would be beneficial. Okay, so we're here in Houston. Let's talk to people who have had suicidal tendencies. Let's talk to people who had failed attempts, and let's like get some real raw in like energy into
Collect
it.
some real
You know,
data,
like
yeah.
instead of just having it, this is the system, this is the system, this is the system, and we work with the systems that are already in place. Like, let's really come together and figure out, like, what are other options? Like, and if somebody wants another option, don't just tell them. You know, I feel like doctors are quick to say, well, you could try crystals, but, you know, you never know if they'll help you or not. You know, they're not going to advocate for that person's personal belief. And my whole concept of Magical Mouse Services is we want to help you enhance your spiritual path. We don't want you to subscribe to ours. So that would be the same thing with your medical treatment. You know, I feel like it's a very personal choice. So we should really discover what is out there as a therapeutic, you know, outlet.
Because I mean, we can always, you know, we can promote it and we can talk about it, but how are we going to take that next step to be that outreach program that people might not have, you know, and you know, either they seek it out or they don't. But how do we, you know, just be like, hey, you know, we're here. If you need us, there's this, that, and the other. Like, you know, like you said, how do we make that connection between humans a little bit stronger, where people actually help more people? You know,
Not to interrupt you, but I mean, if you're thinking about someone that you know is going through a hard time or struggling, instead of being like, oh, I need to call them.
Yeah.
When you, as soon as you think about it, text it. Do it as soon as you think about it.
And break down the stigmas.
Yeah.
Like be comfortable with talking about things. It's an extremely uncomfortable topic for me.
Be genuine.
But this is the one that I chose for me today as my number one. This is what I wanted to talk about. Because I feel like if you have people that have experienced it that are you know, capable of elucidating their feelings and capable of explaining like where they came from about it, like why not share that and like go into the world and do it, like we were saying earlier, Mahatma Gandhi, be the change that you want to see in the world, right? Like go out into the world and say, I'm okay with talking about this. Like you look down, you all right? You know, like no, like legit, I'm the guy. You can talk to me
I think
about
that's
it.
the
Like
first step for sure, being able to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that might help right there. And then after that, maybe trying, I feel like I've fought depression many times and I still fight it. I think everyone goes through that once in their life at least. But I feel just finding purpose and helping that individual find their purpose could be like the first it's like healthy step for them to find their worth. Because I feel like when you lose your worth, you feel like everything's going against you, and you start thinking all this stuff. You just start manifesting that whole perspective and perception. It just kind of derails you from who you are. And I feel like the more lost you are as a person, the harder it is to cope with this. So I feel like trying to help that person find their purpose. I know I've seen it. I've helped others as they've helped me, and that was like the number one thing that got me through, and it still helped me get through because I found my purpose, and it happened to be through music. And so it just that's my way to put it out.
I just wanted to add one more comment. I think that if we all start to recognize that more people are going through this than like they let on to be, then we can start being a lot more open about it. And so I think having this as a topic is great. You know,
Definitely.
So how are we breaking through that fear? I mean, because that is a big part
like
of
I said, in my teaching, I talk about different women, and her story, Ida Craddock, you can look her up. It anchors around this suicide and what she did. You know, her committing suicide spread this awareness about how women should take their life back. You know, at this time when they were very repressed. So I think just having people who are strong enough to say, I have battled depression. I'm still battling because it's a human syndrome. You know, it's not like isolated. I think that there's an energy in the world that we all have to like channel through.
And there's a lot of different stuff going really weird in the world right now. Fires, earthquakes, and volcanoes,
and I think we should all be understanding to that might be just the thing that makes people want to give up because there's all this stuff that you can't process. There's some confusion there.
All right, so here in just a little bit, we're going to take some comments from the audience. That's you guys. Some that our producers were, their favorite picks. Going to get some sponsors in. So before we do all that, I know we've talked a lot about different avenues about this topic. Just dialing back for a second. So I'm a little caught up in my feels at the moment. Sorry. So with y'all's music, how are we trying to navigate through these murky waters?
I'm trying to create a dialogue about it through my music. I have a new solo album coming out next month, August 8th, called Magic 8 Ball, and it has a song called Nut Song, and it's about embracing your mental issues, for lack of a better, call it what you want, but it's about taking the craziness that you've been told that you have and running with it and saying, you know what, this is me and this is what I'm going to do. And I'm doing it in a way that's like really whimsical and lighthearted, so it's not like, oh my God, he's talking about crazy people doing whatever they want. It's like, not everyone's off their meds. But I don't know. I think, it is a serious conversation that we need to have as a society and as humanity at large. But I think maybe if we can find ways of kind of slipping it in or sneaking it in, or just, if it's something that we're going through, owning it and embracing it, saying, I've had these issues, I have these struggles, and I'm going to move forward and grow beyond it.
So Nudge, I know you got a real personal tie to this.
Yeah, definitely. This last year has been really rough. This last October, I lost my best friend. Ever since then, it taught me to not take anything for granted anymore and to focus purely on what I want to accomplish. And what I want to accomplish is making my message clear through my music and to give purpose, like I was just talking earlier, and to give meaning into not only the music itself again, especially this new age rap that's being played. I have nothing against any of the oldies or any upcoming who have a purpose, whatnot, but being able to just eliminate all the stuff that didn't matter and making a whole new movement to help people out through my music, and that's where I am now, and it's grown me to where I am, and it's instead of taking it in a negative way, instead of taking it as being crazy, I'm taking it as its life. It's grieving, it's pain, it's real, it's all emotion, and being able to develop it all and put it all together in my music, and it's just a blessing. And being able to find the right people to help me, guide me through this whole journey to get to where I am, has just been the most blessing part of it. And just like I can't tell you how happy I'm about to release all this new music, and I'm dropping Stratosphere tomorrow, and after that, it's just gonna keep getting better, and that's what I truly feel. So
Congratulations.
appreciate it.
So how are we going to spread this hope, guys? How are we going to change some people's lives aside from, you know,
Reaching out more,
definitely.
reach out.
So I don't have the phone number.
I thought about pulling it up earlier.
Right.
It's 1-888 something.
Something like that. What do you guys think? I know you got something on your mind, Billy.
I would put that my music is my sonic therapy to deal with all of the issues that I have found myself in throughout the course of my life. Officer God focuses a lot on geopolitical things and what have you, but also the very personal, and also the next world and like life beyond death, and also the absence of life. So for me, I've had venues say, you're great, but you're a little focused on death. We're not going to ask you back, and that's cool. For some people that's their prerogative. But to me, ultimately, it's about expressing things that are uncomfortable and getting it out there. Where there are people that share this experience, and to this point, we've focused a lot on the idea that we want to deter people from making that decision, and that is correct. We don't want people hurting themselves, but I do want to once again put out there that it is a decision that is a personal one, and like we can talk about euthanasia, the concept that people get sick and they have a right to choose when it is that they die, and I would spread that over and say, why is it that only sick people are allowed to choose whether they want to smoke marijuana or die? And there's that too.
Definitely. So the euthanasia topic, I think we'll come back to that right after the break. Now, real quick, so if you are struggling, if you're going through something really tough, if you just need a helping hand, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number is just call or text 1-800-273-8255. Reach out, and, there's people ready and willing to help any of us that go through that, and we all do, and like we were talking about, that fear shouldn't, prevent you for seeking out that help and reaching out to a friend. So if you know somebody or you yourself are going through it, make sure you call, make sure you even hit one of us up and just, be like, hey, going through this, we've got you covered. Now, I think we're about ready to take a quick little break to recognize our sponsors. Now, after this break, we're going to dive back into the topic. We're going to get some live performances from our amazing artists. Everybody's performing today. It's going to be amazing. And then, we're going to get back into the meat and bones of it. So, when we get back from our sponsor, from Phil and Derek's in Midtown, they're absolutely amazing. We do have some comments ready for after this break. So, you guys are making comments, and our producers are picking their favorite ones. If you are, on the level to have your comment picked, make sure that you guys stick around to, see more of this really amazing discussion. I know it's tough for a lot of us, but a lot of really good stuff coming, so stick around through the break. We're going to get live performances going, and, I'm Chris Weston, your host from Texas Music and Art, Plain Colors, all kinds of stuff. Make sure you guys stick around. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Phil and Derek's Restaurant and Jazz Bar, located in the midst of bustling Midtown in Houston. All right. You'll find a laid-back atmosphere and ambiance reminiscent of the comfort of your own living room, coupled with the flair of pizzazz and glitz from live New York-style cabaret entertainment 7 nights a week. Phil and Derek's is not only the ideal restaurant with a great, long-standing wine selection, but also with a full bar as well. Phil and Derek's stock and knowledge of wines, from Napa Valley wines, French Bordeaux, Spanish and Argentinian wines, just to name a few, are the envy of wine connoisseurs far and wide. Phil and Derek's Sunday Brunch was voted best morning after brunch for 3 consecutive years. Come indulge in the ample buffet of crepes, omelets, various salads, meats, complimentary mimosas, and much, much more. Enjoy delicious foods from the kitchen until midnight. We're equipped with large dining areas, ideal for every party need, whether business or pleasure. Come see and enjoy all that Phil and Derek's has to offer.
I'm your host, Chris Weston, Texas Music and Art and all kinds of stuff. Now, the topic today is suicide. Pretty heavy. So, is it bravery, is it cowardice, or is it something in between? We've heard a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different stuff. But first, we're going to take some comments from you guys. Now, our producers picked out some of their favorites, so if you are, able to type, maybe yours was picked. Now, so the first comment we've got is from Casey Vigil. So, mental health cannot be brave or cowardly. This is an opinion. Would we say that about someone suffering from DM12, DM1/2, someone with CHF, any other body system and diseases, disorders, are acceptable to talk about, prevent, treat, live with? Now, mental health is just as, if not more important to talk about. This is a topic I've discussed for over a decade, and there's still a great debate of mental health being some sort of choice. Now, what do you guys think about that? Is it a choice? Is it something?
Definitely not a choice.
Definitely not a choice, right?
Yeah, so perspective is choice, but when you're physiologically impacted by your neurotransmitters and hormones, of course that's going to affect your the way you think, just like anything, just like any intoxicant or anything.
Mm-hmm. So that kind of brings up that euthanasia that we were discussing earlier in the kitchen. I mean, somebody suffering so much, going through such a high level of pain, I feel like that they should be able to decide, or whether they want to keep going through this and just for that hope, which we do want to spread hope. That's the main thing, but it ultimately is that person's decision.
I just want to say one more thing about the question, that I certainly do feel like that's an assumption that the person is experiencing a mental health issue. Sometimes people are of sound mind and they make the determination that it's time to end. I mentioned Hunter S. Thompson earlier. I'm pretty sure that Hunter S. Thompson was a fairly sound-minded individual. He was a journalist. He had plenty of experiences, and he decided that he wanted to end his life, not based off of the fact that he was sad or anything, but that he didn't find this world congruent with his existence.
Right. But are all people dealing with suicide, do they all have a mental disorder?
I think we're pretty individual on that, person by person, case by case.
Yeah. I truly believe that you could just be dealing with anger and feel like if you just want to call quits, so it doesn't necessarily, like I said, it could be momentary lapse of judgment.
It's mental health there. Regardless, I feel like definitely think it's a mental. It's a disease.
And I can understand your plight from that.
Definitely. It's not something you just wake up and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm sad. I don't like life anymore. It's not like that. It's about all the experiences of pain and things that you go through that build up and cause you to feel literally you have to give up because there's no other option. And some days it's hard to wake up. It's hard to even be motivated to do what you do. Even simple things, just to wake up to brush your teeth and brush your hair. So that's why I agree with this. It's not a choice.
So,
I don't think it's a choice either, and I feel like as someone that has mental health issues, if there are so many of us, like let's just say here in the United States, that have, apparently there are a lot of us with mental health issues, so why is mental health care not readily available? Why are so many people uninsured and we can't get access to counseling or therapy, or even if you don't want to go the prescription route, if you just want counseling and therapy, why is that so hard to get?
Our treatment shouldn't be based off of our employment and
Exactly.
our
Right.
access
That's
to
thinking,
channels like
yeah,
that.
I'm
And I agree
not
with you on that.
articulating it well, but you,
I-
we're on the same page.
I completely agree with you on that, and that's from like the social libertarian perspective that I don't think that necessarily we should be provided that kind of services by the government per se as a right, or but that those access channels should be available and that they shouldn't be jumping through hoops and have to have insurance tied to your employer and all that sort of
Right,
stuff.
and there should be more
Yeah.
sliding scale like type of therapies
Yes,
that you
yes.
can just go to.
Plus, the media doesn't help us very much. There's
No, and I thought about that earlier before the break. You know, we're bombarded with news and all this
Kind of
negativity. It's
desensitizes
just,
everyone.
yeah, and it's so depressing and gross.
So there are certainly mental health issues, not taking away from that, but there are also situations that aren't mental that lead to a person feeling hopeless. You know,
Absolutely.
in those situations to take one's life. Is that cowardice or is that bravery?
Again, it's a choice. It's not. I don't think it's cowardly. Well,
So one life
think it's
impacting
brave either.
situation.
it's a choice, and it's a painful choice. I feel. I don't think anyone goes into it thinking, "This is what I want to do." It's something that they feel they have no option. That's truly the best way I can say, based on my opinion.
What you guys think?
Man, so again, hopelessness is something to work with on a personal level, like helping those people that you see struggling with those sorts of things. But the idea that the whole thing is tied to sadness, hopelessness, and lack of self-determination makes me sad, because I really don't believe that that's like a motivating factor for like legislation. I don't think that we should make laws that say somebody should be put into jail because they committed or attempted to commit suicide. The whole terminology, committing suicide, like it's a crime. The concept that somebody, oh well, they thought that they saw it fit to end their own life. Now we need to put them in a cell or take their liberties away from them. I think that it's kind of counterintuitive, counterproductive, and counteractive to their therapy. If we really want to get to like the deep roots of it, like soap operas. We watch soap operas, right? They're not soap operas anymore because they used to advertise soap back in the old days. That's why they call them that. So they get the ladies weeping, and then they got them watching the soap opera. They buy the soap, right? Now they get the ladies weeping, and they buy the pharmaceuticals. Because I mean, like if you watch, ABC daytime TV for a couple shows, or Days of Our Lives, whatever, you'll find that the main product that's advertised on those channels are pharmaceuticals, and usually it's related to mental health channels. And so get somebody sad and sell them the product, there you have it. Step right up, get your snake oil.
I wanted to say one thing about the human condition in itself. Like if you think about the word dis-ease, how many of us are at dis-ease? So if we're talking about, mental health, like, okay, well, the human mind is conditioned to feel all of these ways, and we're going through a actual conditioning process of our brain and what we think about and how we're like targeted for certain things. I mean, if you look at Facebook and all of the algorithm things, so we have to like start to see that we're all feeling dis-eased, and how are we going to come together and find a way to like heal the symptoms. Start looking at it symptom by symptom, because anyone can say to me, hey, you're a mom of 3, like you have no reason to feel like you should kill yourself, and I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, that's cool, but what's going on inside is like I'm trying to figure out what my role is on this earth that I didn't really consciously choose to be here. And so that kind of like, people can say, okay, just call, but there's more to it when it comes to like the human condition, than just being able to just, have those outlets
I want to add on
to
that.
call.
I feel like just adding the self-worth, finding the purpose, like that could be like the number one thing, because that helped me finding how to focus all this energy, all the pain, instead of letting the anger take over, instead of letting that negativity take over, instead of letting the grieving process decline me. I made it,
Empower
evolve
you,
me,
yeah,
made me develop. And that's what this whole album is about. That I'm about to drop. It's about developing and always growing and getting that growth and being able to express all certain different stories into each album, each track on the album. And that's
I think what helped me get through the depression, especially losing someone who's a part of me, the closest friend I will ever have, is gone, and waking up, driving to school, driving the same route, and he's not there. Instead of letting that tear me up to where I don't want to have purpose, it makes me have more purpose for the goals and dreams that we had. And instead of his death being in vain, I'm gonna let his death not be in vain, so that way I can live his legacy and continue what he taught me and everything that I've learned through his death. And I feel like finding purpose, finding that will, and being able to put yourself there. And it starts with talking to someone, reaching out. You have to let people know. People aren't just gonna guess what's in your brain. People aren't gonna be like reaching out. Hey, Nige, you're going through pain. You're depressed. But they're not gonna do that.
It comes to getting rid of those stigmas,
You've
man.
got to.
Like helping people get rid
If you
of
truly
them.
got a problem, people will help you out.
Yeah.
I truly believe that.
Yeah.
So Sheridan Tonch says you have to be mentally ill to feel like that's your best option. It's not a spur of the moment thing.
What about the example I gave earlier, monks that set themselves on fire because of the political tensions in Tibet?
Exactly.
That they may have been under duress when they made the decision, but I think that it was very calculated, and that shows a great level of lucidity to be able to make a decision that would be poignant on a political level like that.
And the guy in Tunisia that started the Arab Spring too. I can't think of his name right now.
For him to say that it's not a spur of the moment thing, that doesn't sit right with me because of the fact that like all of the pressure, like I take pressure differently, so all of the pressure can be so much that I'm just like, right now, even though I have great, wonderful life, like I really do, and I've taken control over my life, there can be moments where I lapse my own judgment for what's best for me and think that everyone would be better off without me because I am such this, and this, and this, because I know me. I know what's inside of me.
I think that the difference there, though, is that you have like the presence of mind to like work yourself through it and navigate it. And with people that have gotten to like that hopeless point that they're talking about, that it's that they somehow have been robbed of their own mechanism of free will, and that does like.
Rational thing.
So where would that come from, though? Like, and I think it gives credence to the concept that like we kind of have things pushed on us that aren't ours, like from the media. How many people are really affected by these big stories in the mainstream media on a personal level? But how many people are damaging their own relationships with their families, with their friends, in order to go out and make the point that they agree with these big mainstream narratives? And I'm not going to make any specific references right at this point because we're kind of stepping outside of the political and staying in the spiritual, right? But like, why is it that we get to this point where it's culturally like pushed upon us to disagree with one another on such a fundamental level that it would damage our relationships? And what else is being pushed upon us on that level? And why is it that when we're watching the soap operas and we see the pharmaceutical commercials that give you a list of 30 reasons why you shouldn't take the drug while everyone is dancing around happily and merrily while their bladders are bleeding? I wouldn't be dancing if my bladder was bleeding, but the symptoms are so bad that like the side effects being like leukemia and death or better. I don't know.
All right, guys. So this is a really heavy topic. Let's take a quick break. Let's take a little breather and get some real live music going. Got some amazing artists. Cool. Are we ready back there? All right, Ian. I believe you are up first, my friend.
This song is called Cherry Blossom, and I wrote it for my fiance James Gray, who I hope is watching right now. I love you. promise me that you'll never go away. You called me a cherry blossom, I told you your love is awesome. Always be a cherry blossom, tell you that your love is awesome. You called me a cherry blossom, tell you that your love is awesome. Always be a cherry blossom, tell you that your love is awesome. On the first day that we met, you made me forget who I thought I should be. You looked right through me. You called me a cherry blossom, I told you your love is awesome. You called me a cherry blossom, I told you your love is awesome. Always be a cherry blossom, tell you that your love is awesome. Always be a cherry blossom, tell you that your love is awesome.
What's your inspiration?
My soon-to-be husband, we're getting married March 20th, 2020.
Congratulations.
And that's off the new album, and I totally messed it up.
Yeah,
I did the second verse first, and then I had to do the first verse second. And
That was great, man.
Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
great.
And I just quick plug because I forgot at the beginning. I'm doing a show here in Houston with Officer God, August 14th as part of the Magic 8 Ball tour. And yep. So I'm sorry I dropped the ball on that, but
You're good.
So where can they find that material?
they can find that material on Spotify, Deezer, Amazon Music, Apple Music, iTunes, all the big ones. August 8th of this year.
Perfect.
So, and it's 18 new songs. They're not all acoustic ukulele. Some of it's electric rock in the vein of like Power Man
Yeah,
5000.
Yeah.
Some hip hop and rap. It's all over the place.
Right on. Great, man.
Chaotic. It's like chaotic pop.
Very cool.
That's a new one.
All right, guys. Up, we've got Naj Zephyr. We're gonna take a quick little second to rearrange some stuff, and then we're gonna get rolling. You right back there. Sure.
Okay, so I just wanted to say I've been holding this in. Sometimes suicide can be like the best, like it's like a big sleep. So it could be an option, like where somebody's thinking like, I can't get out of this. I keep feeling these feels. The thing that I'm gonna do is go to sleep because that's a place that I can explore these ancient mysteries that I don't know, that no one knows, and nobody I can get the answers from. So sometimes suicide can be an option in that way. And that's when you get that lapse of judgment, like, quick, you do this because of that. I just want it to all go away, and I just want to sleep. I just want to be at peace for once, you know, calming the storm inside of you.
All right. Man, you guys got me all in my feels today. All right. So, Nige, you guys ready over here?
Ready to go?
Ready back there? Nick? Go. Night is everybody.
Living my life and I'm living it right. Riding my wave and I'm cruising the nights. Making it work and I'm keeping it tight. Nothing's more better whenever you climb. Caught up in the stratosphere. Got me feeling like I'm up here. Caught up in the stratosphere. Got me feeling like I'm living my life and I'm living it right. Busting my vibes and I'm keeping it tight. Flying my plane and I'm taking it high. Cruising my lane and I'm moving my right. Gotta go with the light speed, empty, quick feet, moving like lightning, running like Nike. Gotta switch scenes, gotta get green, gotta stay clean, gotta move peeps, all work, no sleep, I creep, on beats, I tweet, no peaks, I breathe, no strings. Know what I know what I know what I do. Taking my time and I'm laying my road. Keeping my honor and keeping my cool. Working my craft, turn it to gold. Riding my wave, coast to coast. The battle of the night just ready to living my life and I'm living it right. Riding my wave and I'm cruising the night. Making it work and I'm keeping it tight. Nothing's more better whenever you climb. Caught up in the stratosphere. Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm up here. Caught up in the stratosphere. Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm up here. Caught up in the stratosphere. 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 Living my life and I'm living it right. Riding my wave and I'm cruising the night. Making it work and I'm keeping it tight. Nothing's more better whenever you climb. Caught up in the stratosphere. Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm up here. Caught up in the stratosphere. Got me feeling like I'm up here. Got me feeling like I'm up here. Know what I know, what I know, what I know. Taking my time and I'm playing my role. Know what I know, what I know, what I know. Know what I know, what I know, what I do. Taking my time and I'm playing my role. Know what I know, what I know, what I know. Know what I don't. Know what I know, what I know, what I don't. Taking my time and I'm playing my role. Know what I know, what I know, what I know. Know what I know, what I know, what I don't. Taking my time and I'm playing my role. Keeping my honor and keeping my cool. Working my craft, turning to gold. Riding my wave, coast to coast. I love magic, ready to go. Riding my wave, coast to coast. I love magic, ready to go. Riding my wave, coast to coast. The battle of night is ready to go.
Yeah. Where can they find that material at, man?
Alright,
Doing a drop tomorrow,
so
right?
tomorrow, it's going to be exclusively on my website, www.nigezephyr.com. And I should be on all social platforms by the following week. So I'm just going from there. After this, I'm going to be releasing an album. I don't have exact dates yet, but it's going to be in volumes of 3, and it's going to be a total of 12 songs. So I hope y'all are ready for it, because I know I am finally.
Very cool, man.
So,
That was awesome.
appreciate y'all.
What's that, dude? All right, Mallard, Billy, you guys ready?
Yes,
Pumped?
sir. Absolutely.
We're Officer Guy. You can come check us out tomorrow at Spring Branch Tavern. We're going to be playing a show with Ian Quiet.
That's 1810 Ochaman. It's going to be a big thing. There's going to be vendors and all kinds of cool stuff. We've got burlesque, sideshow, and music performances with Ian Quiet and Officer God.
Love it.
You want to choose a song?
All right. Yeah. This song is called "Just Watch the Cars Go By." Nothing you know is real. You only believe proceed, don't make for a deal. We forgot the stars, so consumed in who we are. And as I melt away on another perfect day, sometimes I wonder why this is the reason for my rhyme. Why is all that I love a crime? And if I get caught, I'll be doing some time. And now you come along, and you're beautiful, beautiful. Nothing you do is wrong, only beautiful, beautiful. Just watch the cars go by. Just watch the cars go by. Not a star to wish upon in the sky. Sit here and try to figure out why they took away our night. You are the player of the strings to my heart. I die every day, die every day. To the sorrow of the notes that you play, I die every day. You are the player of the strings to my heart. I die every day, die every day. To the sorrow of the notes that you play, I die every day. Nothing you know is real. You only believe what you feel. Everything we have we steal. A forced receipt don't make for a deal. That's why I just watch the cars go by. Just watch the cars go by. Not a star to wish upon in the sky. I sit here and die under the flickering light. They took away our night. They took away our life. Just watch the cars go by. Just watch the cars go by. Cars go by, cars go by, cars go by.
Alright guys, this is the Whine No Whine Show Artist Edition. Now we only got a little bit of time left. So, topic today was suicide. Is it bravery? Is it cowardice? Or is it something in between? Now we've heard a lot of different opinions and perspectives, and it may not be easy to talk about, but if you know someone going through something, or you yourself are, make sure you call, get help, reach out to somebody. You know, we're there for you. Now, you guys are amazing. Oh, you were all amazing. That was really, really cool.
For real. Y'all are awesome. For real.
It was really amazing. I guess we're just out of time. So be sure to follow us on youtube.com/The Whine No Whine Show. These songs will all be posted with a professional recording by our own favorite man in the world, Nick Boyer of Brother Boyer. Thank you, Nick. It was, you know.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. He's like, why are we clapping? Awesome. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, all that kind of good stuff. I was your host, Chris Weston from Texas Music and Art, playing colors, the Whine No Whine Show. Please tune in tomorrow for our original Whine No Whine Show with your host, Joe Orsek, at 6 o'clock p.m. Just as amazing, if not even better. They're a little, you know, they're awesome. So, thank you guys again for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow, as well as every week at 7 on Thursdays and 6 on Fridays.
See you at 1810 Ojimon tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes. You guys got any, aside from that tomorrow, you guys got anything before we say goodnight?
Yeah. I am third place winner of MXD Magazine's Basketball Rock Senior, and I'm doing something completely different than what you saw this Saturday in Louisville at T's Bar and Grill. It's the annual MXD Awards ceremony, and I'm playing with Trepid from Louisiana, and they kick butt. So
Sweet.
it's gonna be awesome.
Okay, very cool. Naj, tomorrow.
Stratosphere drops, and I can't wait for y'all to hear it. So.
Very
Y'all
cool.
got to hear the live version now. Go check out the studio version.
Definitely. Well, thank you guys all for being here. From the bottom of my heart, I know it wasn't easy talking about the topic today, but you guys a chance, you stuck through. It was, yeah.
You guys want to do anything more on Instagram after the show? More performances?
We could do.
We'll throw up a little live camera and maybe just do a little extra, jamming.
Yes.
So
Check
the
us out
Instagram
on
people.
Instagram right after this. We're gonna basically be videoing the after party with all these amazing musicians. Probably get some more music out there for you.
And some more wine.
And some more. This is the Whine Show, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you later.